Billboard Radio China, bringing the world to China and China to the world.
那为什么会这样子安排
Who are you looking to for inspiration?
I wanted to know just how close this was.
Okay, so the questions are...
10 questions.
What's going on? This is your boy Doomkitty back at it again with another episode of 10 Questions. This time I sit down with a Canadian singer who's been at it for nearly 20 years, has put out over 8 records, and most amazingly has done it all right next to her twin sister. That's right, this is 10 Questions with Sara Quin from Tegan and Sara. Sara, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. All of us in the BRC studios are already psyched to see you live in Hong Kong, July 28th, and we'll get to that in a bit. But first, let's talk your come-up. You and your twin sister, Tegan, have been making music for, well, pretty much ever. You were pretty young when you first started playing music, just in your mid-teens. But let me ask you this. When did this really become a career for you both? And if you don't mind me asking, was it always in the cards to play alongside your twin sister? Or did you ever think about branching out on your own?
Well, when did it become a career? I think, for me, I guess I would say when I was able to pay rent full time. I didn't have to do anything but play music, and that was probably when I was 20. So even though we spent about 3 years after high school touring and playing shows and making records, I wasn't really able to get rid of my day job and survive until I was about 19 or 20. I never thought about going solo. I definitely always felt like what I was doing with Tegan was the most, that was like the focus that I had. I never thought I'm going to spin off and do something different from her. I did go back and forth about whether or not I thought we could have a professional career. There were a lot of years that were a bit of a struggle. Even once we started, got a record deal and started touring professionally. I mean, it wasn't until we were about 25 or 26 that I remember thinking, I could maybe this is has a future. I always thought maybe we'll make a couple records and I'll go back to college or something. It never really seemed like a full-time thing until probably our 4th record. And then I felt a little bit more confident about it.
Nice. Actually, you know what? We're going to talk about your 4th record in a little bit, which is a perfect segue for later on. Going to your roots, the first couple years, from what I've heard, it wasn't easy for you in the early years of the career, both you and your sister. You got your first big break on a college battle of the bands. From what I understand, you won when you were still in high school, which is pretty cool. And from what I've heard, your mother was actually pretty big on you guys taking your time with your music career, as I would expect most mothers tend to be, until you both convinced her. So tell me a little bit about that early part of the career when you were still new to the industry and the life in general. I mean, it's such a big change, especially for 18-year-olds. So what was that like for you?
I mean, it was really disorienting. And I think, the context too is that, we're talking about the mid to late 1990s. So it wasn't like the internet or, American Idol. There's a real culture around fame and music business and all of that stuff. But, when we were growing up, there really wasn't any framework or reference for us. It just sort of was. It was something that we liked to do, and people were showing interest in the band from the music business. But, we had pretty much grown up thinking that our trajectory after high school was go to college, get a job, be an adult. And I think to suddenly start saying, well, I want to play music. It wasn't I want to go to music school. I mean, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know you could we were pretty naive and out of the, I didn't know that things like Berkeley or Juilliard or these American music schools existed. I had no clue about any of that. I just thought if I could just play music for people and record songs, I'd be really excited. And so, initially it really was a challenge because we were sort of breaking new ground for ourselves and trying to figure it out as we went along. And yes, I think as a result, my parents were certainly apprehensive to just say, you should do it. I don't even know if we knew what it was. We didn't really, we just were booking ourselves little gigs, and we would take the Greyhound bus to other cities and play in bars at night. And I mean, it was pretty bleak initially, but, within 3 or 4 years, we we had it figured out. We knew how to like book tours, and we knew how to, work a crowd. We were getting a lot of opening gigs. We were supporting people. Once that started to happen, we were sponges. We were picking up information all the time. It was like we were really inquisitive and sort of precocious. I remember we toured with Neil Young when we were 19, and I remember just like following everyone in the crew around and asking questions, and how does this work, and how does that work, and what do you do about this, and what do you do about that? And we were really into the business, and we, within a few years, we really had it figured out, and we felt more confident. But initially, I think that, that sort of trepidation from our parents was just reluctance to sort of give us approval to do something that we didn't even really know what that was going to look like.
Great. I mean, I have to say, to be able to tour with Neil Young at 19 sounds absolutely insane.
It was insane. And I want to be clear, we were incredibly humbled, and I realized even then, what a tremendous fluke or something it was that we ended up getting hooked up with Neil and his manager Elliot, because it really gave us this incredible opportunity to to be around people who had a deep sense of the music business, but a very specific era of the music business, where there was an emphasis on artist growth and development and songwriting and fan connection. And those were our sort of first experiences in the music business, and they really stuck with us. But then on the other hand, we were just like, couldn't have been more unprepared and unqualified. And it was a really tough tour because we just didn't have any experience. So it was like we sort of jumped from, almost like elementary school to a PhD or something. It was sort of like, we had to learn really, really, really quick how to survive that. But it was a tremendous opportunity, and probably one of the most important ones that we've had in our whole careers.
I mean, that sounds amazing. Talking a little bit about growth and developing, things really have changed for you both through the years since then. You've slowly but surely come more and more into the mainstream, culminating, I think it's safe to say, with your 2013 album Heartthrob, which had the track Closer, which is probably right now your biggest song to date. It won you a Juno Award. It was featured on an episode of Glee. It was your first Billboard Hot 100 track. And that's such a change from where you started and what you came from to, even the lead song for a movie that went around the world about one of the biggest toy franchises in history. And something, I tell you the truth, I can never get out of my head. It is way too catchy. So starting out and through the course of your career, did you ever think that you'd get to be quite as popular and even as mainstream as you are now?
Well, no, I don't think that we did. I think that, for us, our ambition, we've always been very ambitious. But I think that what we understood and what we wanted to achieve has changed over the years. And, what would have seemed like a crazy success to us when we were 25 is obviously very different than at 35. And so I think, even going back to the relationship with Neil Young and his manager, I mean, I think what we basically figured out was that we were going to be comfortable with a certain kind of success and a certain kind of career. And we never felt pressured or, we never felt like we were doing things that we didn't want to do. And so I don't know if I ever thought that we would want or desire or be up for the kind of career we have now. It was like, we just kind of got here very naturally. And now that we're here, we really, feel very comfortable. I don't feel like it's, compromise our artistry to have popular songs or to be more mainstream. I actually think that, as queer artists and women in the music business starting in, 1997, I honestly didn't think we would ever be accepted in the mainstream. I mean, we came up during a time where there was still a lot of homophobia, and there was a lot of, even when people liked us, there was this constant narrative about how only gay women could listen to our music and get it. And, we've come really far in our society. And, the fact that we can even be considered peers or contemporaries with people like Taylor Swift or Katy Perry, I mean, it's a really crazy thing still to me. And And I feel grateful for that visibility. So I'm glad we're not where we were when we were 18, but I'm glad it took us this long to get here because I think now we're really ready for it.
That's great. I got to say, that's one of the better answers I've gotten to a question like that. Okay, so let's jump into a song right now. We just talked about Heartthrob, but let's play Closer. What can you tell us about this one?
Tegan sent me this song, and it was kind of one of those like, oh my God, like one listen songs where I remember, writing her an email and saying, oh my God, Closer, this is fantastic. And telling her you should keep working on it. I think it's a real banger, just like right away. I thought was really great. And we ended up rewriting the song quite a number of times. It definitely was one of those songs we spent a lot of time and energy on because we knew it was special, but we wanted to make sure that we got it really perfect. And I mean, I think it's a really great sort of on the surface, just a pop song, but then I think it has like a really nice story to it as well. It's kind of talking about, being into somebody, but into them for more than just, vanity reasons. You think they're hot, but you also think that their brain is hot,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great track. So here we go with Closer.
All I wanna get is a little. Can you come a little closer?
All right, we're back with Sara from Tegan and Sara. So we're up to today. We're talking about now. You've got some new singles out, an album on the way. The big track right now, of course, is Boyfriend, which is already getting some rave reviews. The new album, Love You to Death, is out June 3rd at fine retailers around the world. Where did you go with this album and the track, and what drove their production? I guess, what's new with this album?
I had dinner with Greg Kirsten, who produced a lot of Heartthrob and who produced all of this newest record, Love You to Death. And we sat down and started talking about working together. And one of my big things was that I just really wanted to do the whole record with Greg. I wanted his singular production. I wanted it to feel really cohesive. And I remember saying to him, like, I really want this record to feel modern. I want it to, if we can, I want these songs to be the best we've written, and I want the production to inspire people and be, hopefully advancing what's happening in pop music right now. And he was totally on board. So I think we've accomplished that. There's a lot of people, obviously it's like the first things people hear sometimes are like these 80s references or 90s references, but I think it's I think it's a strong, cohesive record. And one of the big pieces of feedback we got from the last album was sometimes people felt like maybe the songs didn't have as much of an emotional penetration because of the production, and I took that as a challenge. I wanted to show people that you can have pop music that still cuts right to the heart, and I think we've done a more effective job on this record doing that.
Awesome. You know what? We're definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. And you know what? I never do this, but Sara, you are so special to me. We are going to jump back into a song right now. This is Boyfriend, available now. Check it out.
Secret anymore.
All right, my name is Doomkitty, and you are listening to 10 Questions with Sara Quin. So, Sara, of course, part of the album release that we've talked about, you're going on tour soon. You're in the UK in June, and in July, we get you and Tegan out here in Hong Kong as part of a tour in Asia and Australia, and we're super psyched already. Once you finish that up in July, you're taking a little time off, then you're doing a big string of dates all across Canada and the US. With new music coming out just before you hit the globe, what can we expect from a Tegan and Sara tour in 2016?
Right now we're just focusing on making sure that, we like to call them fan favorites, but, the songs from all of our records that people love, we want to make sure that those songs are, highlighted in the show. And we're in the middle of sort of giving them a musical facelift. I feel like now that we've been around for so long, there's definitely, there's a lot of different sounds and a lot of different instrumentation on all of these different albums. So right now we're sort of trying to make sure that everything works together. We'll definitely be playing new music as well. We've done a few warm-up shows using this kind of approach, and it seemed to go off really well with our fans. So I'm hoping that we'll get the same reaction on the other side of the planet.
You know what? I don't doubt that you will whatsoever. Everyone I've talked to is already getting psyched up and listening to all sorts of Tegan and Sara. So I think you probably get a pretty good reaction over here.
Right. Good.
This isn't the first time you've been to Hong Kong. You performed at Clock and Flap in 2013, and you actually made some pretty big promises to the people of Hong Kong. I don't know if you remember that.
I think if you're referencing my how much I loved Hong Kong and that I wanted to move there, then I do remember.
I am, yeah. And apparently you were even checking out neighborhoods you wanted to live in.
I loved the city. Most specifically, I had a very good dinner in Hong Kong, and I was like, if this is like, I ate at, I don't know if the restaurant still is around, Yardbird, but I ate at Yardbird and wandered around in the neighborhood around Yardbird, and I was like, I could fully live here. Like, sign me up. I'll move in a second. It was awesome.
Nice. Well, I know a couple people over there. It is still around, and I'm sure they're going to love the rave review. So let's jump back into another song. We talked a little bit about your fourth album, and I really rarely get to do this, but I'm going to fanboy out just for a second here and say that way back in 2004, when I was in high school in Canada, this was actually the first Tegan and Sara song I ever heard on 102.1 The Edge in Toronto. Now, this is Walking with a Ghost.
What song is it?
Walking with a Ghost.
Okay.
And if I'm right, this was actually one of your songs. So can you tell me a little bit about this one?
Yes, you're right. I wrote Walking with a Ghost. It's a funny song because I remember I was doing a lot of writing exercises. I always had a bit of a writer's block. Tegan was always the one that was a little more prolific. She could sort of really sit down and write songs really easily. But I always sort of had a tougher go of it. And I was trying some different writing exercises, and one of my writing exercises was to write a children's song. So it was like I was thinking like, oh, I want to keep a really simple lyric, maybe only 2 sections, really memorable melody that someone like a kid could sing immediately. And I started with the guitar riff, and at the time I was in pursuit of a girl who I was really into, but she had a girlfriend, and we were taking a bit of a break while she figured out her life. And so Walking with a Ghost was, sort of a euphemism for walking or thinking about somebody all the time. Spending all this time thinking about someone is sort of like hanging around with a ghost. Like it's not really happening anymore, but you can't get them out of your mind. So anyways, that's what the song is about.
Awesome. Thank you. So here we go. We are back. Doomkitty here with Sara Quin. We've got time for one more question, Sara. What is next for Tegan and Sara? What's on the horizon for you both?
Right now, our main focus is going to be touring. We spent a lot of, the last couple of years supporting other artists, doing wonderful tours, but we're really looking forward to getting back out as a headlining band and performing all over the world, and hopefully playing all the songs that people have come to love and the ones that hopefully they'll love from the new album. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I can't wait to get back to Hong Kong.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see you. We're going to jump into one last song. Sara, you want to choose your favorite?
Oh my goodness. Well, how about let's do the newest song to be released in advance of our new album. Can we play Stop Desire? It's one of my favorites of Tegan's off the new album.
Absolutely. This is Stop Desire. Sara, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll see you in Hong Kong.
All right, take care. Hey, what's going on? This is Doomkitty back one more time. I just wanted to jump in just for a second, say thank you again to Sara Quin. She's great. I really enjoyed speaking with her. Tegan and Sara are coming to town. They'll be in Hong Kong July 28th at Kai Tech. And if you're around Asia, they're going to be touring around for just a little while. They'll be at the Valley Rock Music and Arts Festival at Ansan-si in South Korea, and they've got dates in Singapore and Taipei. If you're not there, they're going to be touring across North America all through the fall from September to November, so check out their website for dates. They've also got a new album, Love You to Death, that is coming out June 3rd on Vapor Records. But right now, this is Stop Desire. It's the latest single, and never forget, you heard it here first. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later.